Today we'll break down, explain, and debunk the dumbest GTA 5 theories that I have heard about or found over the years. Starting with the first one, and this one states that Lester is Brad, and I wish I was joking with this one. A few years back, this theory was actually a thing. You had various YouTubers actually claiming this. I believe that they just pretty much thought that that was the case because the two are never seen together on screen. This one is dumb for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's confirmed by Michael in the Merryweather heist that Lester told the crew to not do the job in North Yankton, and that they did it anyway, meaning that Lester wanted nothing to do with that job, which confirms that Lester was never even there. Also, when looking at Brad, do you remember what he says in those cut dialogue lines? I don't know if you heard him, but essentially he says, and I quote, "You know what feels good? Not giving the walking stick 20 cents on the dollar. That's what feels good. We don't need that prick. We never have." So with this, not only do we figure that Brad doesn't like Lester, but guess what? They're not the same person. Who would have thought it? If you want even more proof during the mission surveying the score, there are two instances that put the final nail in the coffin for this theory. So Lester in the first cutscene says that Brad was sometimes part of the original heist crew back in the day. He also, during the drive while talking to Trevor about Brad, says that Brad was a shit part of the crew and goes on to say that he was lazy, mean, forgetful, stupid, and whatnot, which confirms that their dislike of one another was mutual. So yeah, this theory is officially dead and buried. Second theory is another one from that similar time frame, spread by similar YouTubers, and this one is that Michael's kids aren't his kids, but that they are Brad's instead. And the people who support this theory always point to the drunk conversation with Michael and Amanda, where Amanda says that she liked Michael's friend, and Michael says, "Who, Trevor?" And Amanda says, "No, the other guy." And these people instantly just jump to the conclusion that it was Brad. But with this one, the timeline of all these events just doesn't make sense. Trevor explains this if you actually pay attention to the dialogue in the mission Friends Reunited, I believe it's called, and he says that he met Michael, then Michael met Amanda, and we know that roughly a year after Michael met her, they had Tracy, and most importantly here, Trevor says that he met Brad after Michael had both of his kids. So with Brad not being there when Michael and Amanda met, this means that there's no way that Michael's kids are Brad's instead. Also, this whole thing is not once implied in the game, making it more nonsensical, but people also like to point to what Michael's kids look like, but in my opinion that doesn't really hold up, as like I said, there's not a single situation where it's implied that his kids aren't really his, and I think that if that was the case, Rockstar would have hinted at that at least in some small way, but this way I'm just not buying it, making this theory now officially dead and buried. Before we continue though, I want to ask you to really quickly subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video if you're enjoying it right now. Also, make sure to go down either to the description or check out the pinned comment below this video and go there and check out my NordVPN affiliate link. That would help me out a lot, helps keep my fridge full. Moving on to the next one. This one is probably the most recent theory. It's I think from a couple of years ago, I think from 2022 or something along those lines, and this one states that the bank manager in the subtle approach to the big one is the hostage from Prologue, and the people who support this theory just claim that the character models look similar, which I personally don't see, and that the bank manager just looks older due to the prologue being 9 years before the story mode. They also like to jump to the little pause that the bank manager makes when specifically looking at Trevor and his ID. Let's break this whole thing down. So firstly, this makes no sense because Trevor wore a mask in that very beginning of the prologue when the hostages were getting locked in that closet or whatever. So there's absolutely no way that the hostage would have recognized Trevor after all these years, especially. Secondly, if he somehow, some way did recognize Trevor, I don't think that he would have behaved as laid back as he did around the crew. Like when you look at how he behaves while he's talking to the crew and when they're getting the gold, he makes small talk, he laughs, he jokes around, and would he really do that if he just minutes ago recognized a bank robber? I don't think so. So why does he pause when looking at Trevor? I mean, take a look at Trevor. Wouldn't you be a bit weirded out when looking at this guy and that ID? I know I would. So yeah, this theory is dead and buried. Next up is yet another grade A dumbass theory stating that Amanda is the hostage that Brad pushed to the floor in the prologue. And the people who support this one just claim that this looks like a younger version of Amanda. There's a couple of reasons why this makes no sense. Firstly, we know that Brad and Michael weren't really on good terms, and knowing Michael's temperament and the fact that he said to Trevor if he ever calls his wife a pro again he would rip his head off, if Brad just pushed his wife and the mother of his 2 kids aggressively to the floor like he did, Michael wouldn't have gotten just a bit annoyed with him like he does later in the prologue in the car. When Brad brags about it, he would have probably put a hole in his head with that assault rifle then and there. Secondly, in the mission Bury the Hatchet, when Michael has those flashbacks of him talking to Amanda about the deal and them moving to Los Santos, he says, and I quote, "Some depot out of town you don't need to know," meaning that Amanda never even knew where exactly the prologue took place or where the cash depot that they were robbing even was. So how in the fuck could she have ended up there in the first place? So yeah, this one is already
dead and buried.
And as for the final one today, I left one that is the least dumb out of them all in my opinion, and this one states that Trevor's mom was a hallucination, and this one refers to the mission that triggers after ending B or C, where Trevor runs into his trailer and there he finds his mom and they have a totally mentally stable conversation, and then Trevor goes and gets a van full of meds for her, but by the time he comes back she's gone. So what people say is that this is all an illusion and that she was never really there, and I'm more so leaning to the fact that she was actually there but she got tired of waiting for him, because yeah, one could say that Trevor does a bunch of drugs and is generally fucked in the head, so that's the reason that he could be seeing people that aren't really there. That doesn't really seem to happen throughout the game other than when he's on drugs like in the Grassroots mission, but here he does not seem to be on any kind of drugs. Also, if you stick around at the trailer after this cutscene, not only can you hear Trevor's mom shouting at him to go get the meds, but she also locked herself in the trailer and is not letting him in until he brings them, and I don't think that that would be the case if Trevor was just having hallucinations of his mom. And with that said, I want to thank you for watching this video about the dumbest theories that I knew about were or are a thing in GTA 5. Leave your thoughts and opinions on this whole thing down in the comments, and until the next video or stream, bye bye.